It's going to get more and more difficult as the sun comes over the edge any minute now. So let's see if it's even working. All right, I'm in the middle of this desert varnish on this middle of the wall, and now I'm pointing to these two stones that are protruding from the cliff face.
Oh, yeah.
All right, those two stones are native, and by that I mean the Sedonans did not put them there, but they did wedge them in there, so they can't possibly move with non-native rock. So the native material, or the native rock, is the soft red sandstone. The non-native wedges are these much harder basalt rocks, and they use river cobble from that Beaver Creek that's just behind you. They also work the edges of these two stones, so they cast clean, linear shadows. And here's a picture of what I'm about to talk about, but since this is the vernal equinox today, you will get to see some of it. So, March 20th or 21st, a month before the frost-free period, and perhaps we'll get to see it in just a little bit. These two stones will cast two linear shadows, and the sunbeam will illuminate that first sun symbol. It's time for you to start working your soils in preparation for agriculture. April 21st, the start of the frost-free period, and now I'm going to point to the staircase petroglyph, okay? So here I am, trying to point it out. Everybody see that staircase? All right, April 21st. That sun shadow effect that's coming around will bracket and illuminate that first stair step. It's time for you to plant your first crop of corn. In another 30 days, that sun shadow effect will bracket the second staircase, or step, excuse me. It's time for you to plant your primary or your largest crop of corn. In another 30 days, that sun shadow effect will bracket this third and final stair step, and this thing here is a corn symbol. It will bracket that first corn symbol. It's time for you to plant your third and final crop of corn, and because the varieties of corn grown by the Sedonans had a 60-day maturation period, it is now ready for you to harvest your first crop of corn. That staircase ends with a zigzag and a heavy swirl, and that's the symbol for lightning and heavy rains. And those of you from this area know that the end of July and August are our monsoon season, where we have very heavy, erratic rains. And it's a very miserable time to have seeds on the soil or poorly established seedlings. So when the sun shadow effect brackets that part of the petroglyph, it's time for you to stop planting. Now the Hopi have a ceremony called the Niman, and the purpose of the Niman is twofold. One is to give thanks to the gods for your agricultural success, and then to send the gods back home to the San Francisco Peaks, which is where they believe their gods dwelt, but they weren't actually helping them in the communities. And for those of you who don't know, San Francisco Peaks are just north of Flagstaff, about 90 miles away. The Hopi symbol for the Niman ceremony are these paired dancers. Can everybody see my laser pointer now? All right, so these little guys have little feet on the end of them. The Niman in part is like a conga line of hunchback dancers. Now the Hopi celebrate the Niman 14 days after the last harvest. And guess what? 14 days after the last harvest, the sun shadow effect comes down through the cliff face and brackets and illuminate those paired dancers. It's pretty cool. But wait, there's more. All right. So, the shortest day of the year is the winter solstice, right? It's December 21st. Now, there's a big V-shaped notch between this cliff face and the pillar. And of course, the Sedonans did not put the V-shaped notch there, but they did place rocks at the base of it, which affects how the sun peeks through. On December 21st at 1:30, all of a sudden, a sun dagger will emanate from that V-shaped notch and hit the center of this basalt column. This basalt column is non-native. The Sedonans did place it there. Remember, this is more than 40 inches additional soil here, but that is a basalt column placed by the Sedonans. And then an hour later, the sun dagger hits the center of this sun symbol right here, and then it disappears. And now you've gone through the shortest day of the year, and winter has officially begun. I want to draw your attention to the sliver stone. Again, that is native. The Sonoans did not put it there, but again, they did wedge it in place so it can't move. And if you look closely on the left side, you can see that that cliff face has been beveled. And that gives a broader, flatter area for the shadow cast by that sliver stone to project upon. And if you look closely on this side, this cliff face has been heavily beveled to allow more sun to get to that knife edge. And then that knife edge was very painstakingly pressure flaked from both sides, so that the shadow cast by this stone is a near perfect representation of the San Francisco Peak skyline sacred to these people. It's kind of like a global phenomenon amongst cultures that create petroglyphs, that if you need a little supernatural assistance in completing a difficult task or a ritual, you would go to the petroglyph of your ancestor or the petroglyph representing that task and grind away a little bit of it and ingest it or wear it as an amulet. And if you do that over years and years and years, you wear an indentation into that petroglyph called a cupule. And I want to point out that in the head and chest areas of each of these crane planet symbols, there are cupules. In the chest and neck areas, there are cupules in the lizard clan, and cupules in the bear clan symbols. And over here, we have a dead deer. It's dead because it's not in a native or natural position. It has a very large cupule in its chest. So for hundreds of years, people have been coming to this cliff asking for divine assistance. One of the last things I like to point out is just because I'm a wildlife geek, my wife and I are retired wildlife biologists, and we like wildlife art. It really doesn't have anything to do with Sonoans and solar calendar. But this is a really cool petroglyph in my view. Here's a cougar attacking a deer. And I just think that's a neat picture. Alright, so if you saw the knee down ceremony, it's right above, that's the cougar.
Yeah, okay.
And that's the deer.
I see the dot.
Alright. So that's usually where I stop and make up answers to your questions.
What's the yellow stuff that's all over?
That's lichen. That's a symbiotic relationship between fungus and algae. It's a naturally occurring plant, so to speak. And it's just been establishing itself to this cliff for hundreds of thousands, if not 1,000 years or whatever.
Can it destroy
It
the
is destroying
carbon?
it. This panel right here, which I don't talk about, depending on how long you folks stay this afternoon, all of a sudden this panel behind this tree will come to life with petroglyphs. It's all obscured right now, you can barely see it. But when it gets side lit by the sun, all sorts of information comes into view.
Is there anything to be done?
There's nothing that's going to be done. This site is co-managed by the Forest Service and the Hopi. And although this is a very special site to the Hopi, when it is recycled and returned to the earth, it will perform its natural function. In our culture, if we see something that we think is really precious, we build a huge edifice over it and we make a Disney theme park over it. All right? The Hopi don't want any of that. We're welcome to share the site with you folks, but we're not going to be disturbing it any further. We know there's petroglyphs underneath the soil. We're not going to dig that up.
As far as removing lichen goes, anything that would remove or kill that lichen would actually hurt the rock more.
That's what I've read
Oh,
too.
wait, really?
Yeah, the damage has already been done, and you make a good point. Once the lichen is already established, there's already a chemical process in place, and anything that we could come up with is more than likely to do more damage than
Say Mother Earth is.
yeah.
The thing we heard about, like the solstice moment, is this occur here?
Yeah, and around 1:47,
Yeah.
if we're lucky, the vernal equinox indicator will be illuminated.
Okay.
Which one?
All right, so that's when the two shadows and the sunbeam illuminate this first sunset.
Okay, so it's the vernal equinox.
So we have equinoxes, and we have solstices, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on here. So that those of you that are interested, The guy who discovered or put together the solar calendar function, his name is Ken Zoll, and he wrote a neat little book called Sedona Sun Watchers, and it's for sale in our gift store. And it goes into a whole lot more functionality than I just brushed upon. He's the one that stood here for way too many years and figured there had to be something going on. And we knew that the Sedonans were always watching the celestial events to keep track of time long before they ever made this wall. They did that from an observation rock, which would be a boulder on their mesa top with a petroglyph on it, and then with rock cairns, denoting when certain constellations or planets are in certain alignments. And that's how they kept track of time. Then we think they discovered this near-perfect blackboard with naturally occurring phenomena that just need to be touched up a bit. And they had the aha moment. I don't have to stay up every night looking for this alignment. I mark it right correctly. Just one time, I can have a beer and check it out in the afternoon and see what season it is, how close. So we took advantage of this naturally occurring phenomenon, dressed them up, had water on it, and then made a record. Days. And then it was only much later when they discovered this naturally occurring phenomenon on this perfect north-south foot base that they can make a mark and permanently record it. It also happens on the fall equinox, but right now we're celebrating the vernal equinox.
Is that same thing in the fall?
I think so.
What if you use the they did some excavating? Goes down, to see how far the rafts go down in the soil.
Oh, right here, they're just going to start. These guys, and so that's a byproduct of a bacterial colony that it takes up to 10,000 years for it to make.
Yeah, see how it looks all scrapey and stuff on it. See the deer or elk right there. Over here. See the turtle over there. And you see the steps over there? That's meant for the growing season. Second crop,
Well, there's a lot of things going on in this wall. And once the hysteria is over about so real briefly, there's like 4 functions on
and then you put up scaffolds.
2 things that look like turtles. That staircasing, that's actually the agricultural calendar. That's when you start planting your corn at different intervals.
Oh my goodness.
And
this is the Beaver Creek. Native Americans use this as a source of water. This was running not too far from the petroglyph. You can see the overflow of it.